There was once a garden unattended that grew brambles, thistles, and thorns but was once a beautiful plot of land. A young woman hurt her leg and she could no longer care for the plants, trees, and flowers. She began making jars of clay and stone sculptures to pass the time and make extra income. One day she fashioned a garden gnome that she was so pleased with. Instead of selling it, she kept it in her backyard. One morning she noticed a ring of mushrooms growing around the garden gnome statue, and the next day she saw that the brambles and thickets were gone and the lilies, tulips, tuberoses, crocuses, and hyacinths multiplied and gave off a wonderful aroma. With the branches gone she was able to get closer to the plants and water them. One night the young woman decided to check her garden to see what was going on. She saw a short old man with pruning shears cutting off excess brambles and eliminating pests. "Hello," she said to him. And he disappeared into the night. The young woman told her neighbors about the gnome who tended her plants, but she was dismissed as a fool. The woman thought, if one gnome helped so much, I should make another statue. So she made another garden statue and then another, and soon there were many gnomes sitting in her garden. And she told a neighbor one day at church about the occurrence. The neighbor said, "I was once a young man and now an old man. I have seen many strange things. Things above and things here below, but never have I seen a gnome." And the woman pointed to the gnome who appeared before them a stone's throw away. "Do you not see him? He's wearing red and white, next to a dwarf." And the old man grew concerned for her neighbor and suggested she see a doctor. The young woman went to a doctor, where he was able to heal her leg and listen to her stories. "Gnomes," he said. "I have never seen one, but if you say you saw one, perhaps you are not a fool, but maybe there are some things we don't understand in this world. Indeed, there is so little that we know about the unseen things around us. However, take this prescription and go to the pharmacy to obtain it. This medicine will help you live a more normal life and not see these things that have been troubling you." And the young woman replied, "There is so little I know in my few years on this earth. I have seen signs in the sky and creatures in the woods. I do not understand it all. Surely, no one can. But it is not good for me to have these visions. I will take this medication to help me get better." And as the woman regained her strength and mobility, she sold off the gnomes and made a great profit. She began tending the garden herself and no longer saw any gnomes or dwarves. One day she was digging a hole in the ground to plant a willow tree. She saw 7 mushrooms in a circle and remembered the gnome, so she decided to plant the tree there. She lifted the tree and was going to put it in the hole when she saw something move from below. She decided to dig and spent the entire afternoon digging a hole, trying to find whatever was moving down there. Finally she was 10 feet down in the ground and found a vein of gold extending deep below. She had discovered a deposit of gold ore. She could not get out of the hole and cried all night for help. The following morning, her neighbor found her in the deep hole and brought her out with a rope. The young woman rested and slept a few hours before waking up and having lunch. She knew she had just become the wealthiest person in the country. She decided to invest her money into several ventures, build an orphanage, and give back to her community. She went to town to buy hammers and excavators, but the job of mining was too harsh for her and she injured her leg again. Unable to extract the ore, she kept silent about the mine until the day of her passing. When the villagers got word of the mine and started digging, they suddenly became ill. The gold was coupled with lead, mercury, and antimony and required expert knowledge to excavate safely. The mine ended up poisoning half the town, as people were desirous of mining themselves without protective gear. The neighbor who had once rescued the woman from the hole she had dug thought he ought to put an end to it. He planted a grove of olive trees around the mine so that no one would dig again. That day he spoke at her funeral and reminded the town that health, time, hard work, perseverance, and dedication are the great treasures in life. He told the town to give up the gold venture that was poisoning so many people and instead focus on living a humble life, working the fields with one sweat on his brow instead of quick gain. He said, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return there. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. May the name of the Lord be blessed. In everything I have shown you that, by working hard, we must help the weak. In this way, we remember the Lord Jesus' words, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And they built an orphanage, tilled the soil, and gathered the harvest every year. There was abundant rain and crop yield, and they prayed for those poisoned by digging for gold, and the Lord was kind and gracious to them, and they were healed.